a lot of JavaScript frameworks come out pretty often. Um, a lot of these are brand new and have some advances or some improvements over the others, but it's hard to integrate with them because the adoption is most likely going to be small when they first come out. My intention today is to bridge that gap a little bit, especially with some of the newer frameworks that came out, specifically Bun, Solid, and specifically SolidStart, and Flowbite. So, Bun is a JavaScript framework that is blazingly fast and also manages packages. Um, Solid is a React like front end framework that handles routing and other stuff like that. And then we have Flowbite, which is my personal favorite UI library. And today we're just going to integrate all of them, specifically with SolidStart, because there isn't a lot of documentation out there. So that's my goal for the day. Without further ado, let's begin. Um, so in your terminal, assuming that you've already installed Bun, you've already installed everything else that you need to. This is for when you're like kind of starting to get familiar and you now want to integrate these technologies because they are pretty much the state of the art when it comes to web development. So let's begin. I will do bun um, create solid, and then we're gonna call this demo app. You can call it whatever you want. Solid start TS. And then we're gonna choose the Tailwind CSS option. And that basically sets us up with a kind of basic solid start application. The next steps are pretty much written right there, but going on here, it would be to go into the directory of the demo app and then run bun install. Great, so that installs some of our modules. And then we're gonna do bun dev. And that will start a server for us. And as you can see, it works. Really quick, really great. But if you're anything like me and your front end skills are, you know, right there, the way that you improve on this is by using a front end library. So the front end library that I like is Flowbite. So there isn't a lot of documentation on how to integrate Flowbite with SolidStart. There are combinations of SolidJS with Flowbite or Bun with Flowbite, but there's never the combination of all three. So that's really the goal of today. So once you have that running and you know it can work, you can end that process. And we're gonna go back. So now we're gonna add Flowbite to the project using bun. So we're gonna do bun add Flowbite. Once again, make sure that you're CD'd into the demo app. And then we're gonna configure the Tailwind CSS. So we do that by going into SRC, going into the app.css, and here we're gonna add the following. So I'll just do it. So we have at source, and then node modules /Flowbite /double stars start.js. You can use double inverted quotes or not, that's up to you. And then we're going to do the same thing here. We're going to do at source node modules /Flowbite /star .ts. Right? That's what we're gonna do. You can feel free to add .tsx or .jsx if you want, or if you run into any issues, but I doubt that we'll run into that today. So continuing on, we're going to add tailwind base, and then we're going to do add tailwind components, and add tailwind utilities. Alright, so you can go ahead and save that. That's all good. You probably don't have to reopen that again today. Okay, next up, we're gonna create the component that we want. And I'm taking this component straight out of the Flowbite docs. But before we get there, there's a few things we gotta do. So first of all, let's go into the component section and create this new component. You can call it anything, but it's just an example of how to build a component, and then you can build your own components later on. But just a generic would be modal.tsx. It should have nothing in it, which is good. And then we're gonna wrap the Flowbite block in a default function. So what I mean by that is export default function modal. Like so. And all you have to do is return now in this return is where you find the block that you want. So in our case, since we're using just the default modal, we're gonna find it in here where it says return. So we can just take just from return all the way down. Now, the reason why I'm not following this guide 100% is because the requirements are different for like when it comes to SolidJS and SolidStart specifically. So we should go until the return ends. So really here, if it decides to work with me today, here we go. Copy that and just well, since we're already there, we can just remove this and then paste. So that's how you punch in whatever you wanted to see in your SolidStart. You now have the component and you're able to export it, and we're gonna see its usage example now. So once that's done and you have the component, the next thing to do is to hook Flowbite to every route. We do this because of how SolidStart works. It handles most of the routing for you, and so that's one of the reasons that it's also fast, is that it's just one HTML page really in the back, and all you do is you update the HTML. As far as my understanding goes, I could be wrong, but for that to happen, for us to integrate into that sort of system, we have to make sure that every time we go to a new quote unquote route, that we reload the Flowbite. Because if we don't, it's going to keep the old Flowbite from the initial, and we don't want that. We want it to renew, because if it doesn't renew, then the new components on the new pages are not going to refresh. You're not going to see them. So for that, we're going to go into app.tsx. So right here, and we're going to add Flowbite to every route. So let's do that. So import create effect from SolidJS. Then we're going to Well, since there's already a SolidJS up here, I'm just going to move that up here. Okay, so I can just get rid of that. Then import Flowbite, init Flowbite. Init Flowbite from Flowbite. Okay. Then we're going to import our component, which is called modal. You can call this component whatever you want. From components / modal, or whatever you called it. Okay. Then we're going to, from SolidJS router, so up here, we're going to also import use location. Declared and never read. Okay, so we're going to use it in a second, so don't worry about that. Okay, so now, one quick thing we're going to do first before anything else is we're going to add a little helper function. This function will just help us manage Flowbite. So we're going to call it Flowbite Manager. We're going to do props children any, and then open that up, do a constant called location, and we're going to use location. That comes with SolidJS's routing functions. Then we're going to create an effect. And inside this effect, we're going to get essentially we're getting the name of the route. So location.pathname. That's it really. And then init Flowbite. Oh, God. And then we're going to close that. So curly brace and then semicolon. Then after the semicolon, we return props.children. Okay. So this function kind of lets us know where we're at, and then initializes Flowbite anytime we go to a different route. So anytime the route really changes, we reinitialize it. So now within the router, really, I want to say here somewhere. I doubt that the docs really go over it, but really it should be I'm going to put it here. Flowbite manager that we just created. And we're going to move the other one after the suspense. I don't think it really matters where you put that, but I'm choosing to put it there. We're going to see if it runs after we run it. And you should be good to go as far as the setup. Then all you have to do is call your modal. So let's call it after the suspense. You can really call it anywhere. And yeah. Has no exported member modal. Has no exported modal. Did you mean to use import modal from? Oh yeah. Yeah, that's my bad. That's not how you import. That is how you import. If you notice right here, if you're importing a component, you don't put the braces. My fault. Anyway, yeah. So this, you're now ready to go. It should run, and then once it runs, I'm going to show you also how to suppress some of the warnings. I just want to make sure that it runs first, so we can do bun. You can just do bun dev, but I like to just run bun install and just make sure I'm good before any of that. So if we run bun dev, it should work. All right, and we have our modal. So now you can switch this modal out to be anything. But you will get some source map warnings. These are negligible. I do have some code for fixing it, but I don't think it's that big of a deal. It's just a warning. So yeah, that's how you do it. Please feel free to leave a like if you enjoyed the video, or a dislike if you did not like the video, and leave a comment if you feel that this helped you out, or maybe some videos you'd like to see, and maybe some places where you felt like I can improve. All the feedback is welcome. So once again, thank you for watching. Goodbye.